Imagine you wake up one morning and everyone you know is gone. Not dead, not hiding, just gone. The fire is still warm. The embers still glow orange at the edges, the way they do when someone has just stopped tending them. The sleeping skins are still pressed flat where bodies were lying an hour ago. The bones from last night's meal are still scattered in the dirt. Everything is exactly where it was, except the people. Every single one of them. You stand up slowly. You look around. You tell yourself there is a reasonable explanation. Maybe they moved to find water. Maybe something spooked them in the night and they shifted camp. You call out. Your voice bounces off the trees and comes back to you empty. You call again, louder this time, and the forest just absorbs it, like it absorbs everything, like you were never there. You start walking. You follow the direction you traveled yesterday, thinking maybe you can catch up, thinking maybe you just slept heavier than usual and missed the morning. But the tracks in the soft ground tell you something that makes your stomach drop. The group moved together, every set of footprints going the same way, close together, the way people walk when they are walking with purpose, when they know exactly where they are going. And none of those footprints came back for you. That feeling in your chest right now, that specific cold spreading outward from somewhere behind your ribs, that is not a feeling your modern mind invented. That feeling is ancient. That feeling has a name older than any language. It is the feeling your ancestors called the worst thing, the thing they feared more than the dark, more than hunger, more than the sounds that came from the tree line at night. Because out here, alone, you are not a person anymore. You are a problem waiting to be solved by something with claws. Your ancestors understood this the way you understand breathing, not as a thought, not as a fear they had to reason through. It was written into them the same way it is written into you, in the oldest, deepest parts of the brain, the parts that were already ancient before your species had a word for danger. The group was not a comfort. The group was the technology. The group was the only reason any individual human being survived long enough to have children and pass anything forward at all. Think about what that world actually looked like. No walls, no locks, no weapons beyond what you could sharpen with your own hands, no way to store food that lasted more than a day or two, no way to carry enough water to survive more than a short stretch of open ground alone. The nights were absolute, not the soft dark you know now, the kind with street lights bleeding through curtains and the glow of a screen somewhere in the room. This dark was total, the kind of dark where you cannot see your own hand in front of your face, the kind of dark where everything that hunts by night has every advantage and you have none. And in that dark, a group of 30 people around a fire was a fortress. The fire kept the predators at the edge of the trees. The many sets of eyes meant nothing could get close without being seen. The many sets of hands meant that even if something came, you could fight it together. The noise of people, the low voices, the movement, the smell of many bodies. It carved out a circle of safety in the middle of a world that was otherwise entirely hostile to a single human animal trying to exist in it. Take that circle away and what are you left with? You. One pair of eyes that cannot see in the dark. One set of ears that cannot hear as well as the things listening for you. One body that needs sleep, that needs warmth, that needs water, that will betray you the moment you ask it to do alone what it was only ever built to do together. So you keep walking, because what else is there? You follow the tracks and you tell yourself you are going to find them just over the next ridge, just past the next cluster of trees, just a little further. The morning burns off and the sun climbs and the heat is the kind that makes the air above the ground shimmer. You have not eaten. You are starting to feel the first real edge of thirst, and the tracks, you realize with a slow, creeping horror, are beginning to spread apart. The group is scattering. They are not going to one place. They are going in different directions. They did not just leave. They made sure you could not follow. That is when the real fear arrives. Not the surface fear, the animal panic of being alone in the open. Something deeper and colder and more specific than that. The fear of having been chosen. The fear that this was not an accident, not a misunderstanding, not something that can be fixed with a quick explanation when you catch up. The fear that the people who knew your face, your voice, your name, looked at each other in the gray light before dawn and made a decision. And the decision was you. This is what exile felt like. This is what being cast out meant in a world without cities, without towns, without any other group close enough to walk to, even if they would have taken you in. It meant the end, not quickly usually. That was the cruelty of it. It meant the end slowly. It meant wandering until your feet gave out. It meant nights pressed against the base of a tree, trying to make yourself small while the darkness moved around you. It meant the hunger that starts as an ache and becomes a roar and then goes very, very quiet in a way that is worse than the roar. It meant drinking from whatever water you could find and hoping it did not make you too sick to keep moving. And it meant the loneliness. Not the loneliness you might feel on a quiet weekend when the messages slow down and the apartment feels a little too still. Something beyond that. Something that has no clean comparison in the life you live now. The total, absolute, crushing weight of being the only human in a world world that was built for humans in groups. Hearing a sound at night and having no one to whisper to, eating something and having no one to share it with, waking up in the dark and not knowing where the threat was coming from and having no other set of eyes to help you figure it out. The mind is not built for that. It starts to do things, strange things. It starts to hear voices in the wind. It starts to see movement in the shadows that is not there. It starts to fold in on itself, looking for the social contact it cannot find, manufacturing it from nothing, talking to the trees, to the sky, to something, anything, because the silence is more threatening than any sound. Your ancestors who ended up out there alone did not just face the physical world without backup. They faced it with a mind that was actively coming apart from the absence of other people. Because you were never meant to be alone. Not in that world. Not even for a night. And somewhere in your chest, right now, some part of you already knows this. Some part of you has always known this. It is why you feel that small, cold thing when a message goes unanswered too long. It is why a room full of people who are not talking to you feels worse than an empty room. It is why being left out, even of something small, even of something that does not matter, sends a signal through your body that is completely out of proportion to the actual stakes. Because your body does not know the stakes have changed. Your body is still back there, still following those scattered tracks in the dirt, still feeling the fire get further away with every step, still running the oldest calculation the human animal has ever run. The one that says, without words, without conscious thought, without them, you will not survive the night. The group moved on. They left before dawn. They made sure you could not follow, and you are standing in the middle of a world that does not care whether you make it. That feeling, the one sitting in your chest right now, the one you have felt 100 times in your life and never quite had the words for, that is what it is. That is where it comes from. Not weakness, not overthinking, not some flaw in the way you were put together. It is the oldest memory your species has. The fire is out there somewhere. Other people are gathered around it, and every part of you that was built to survive is pointing you toward it, the way it has always pointed every human who ever lived, toward the warmth, toward the voices, toward the faces that know your name. You woke up and everyone was gone. But you already knew, before you opened your eyes, that that was the worst thing that could happen to you. You have always known.